now all they make money from is touring. With
Right.
streaming and everything. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, my stuff streams on Sirius XM and all the other streaming places, and once a month I get a check, and it's in an email with the amount, and I get so nervous. I just had it. I just opened the email. I'm like, is this going to be a good one or a bad one? And that you got all of a sudden this bar graph comes up, and it's showing you like your year, and how high they are, and what the dollar amount is, and you're like, come on, it's literally like you're in Vegas.
A gamble. I wouldn't even understand how to read my odds.
There's no not odds. It literally just says, you see June, and it's at this, it's at whatever amount of dollars your check was, and now you see July, and it's either lower or higher, and when it's higher,
Throughout quarantine, has it been going up because people are home more?
I just got a good one. I got to be honest. I think I'm in a good mood. It was, and it can vary a lot too. Like it could go from $1,000 to $2,500 the next month, and then it could go to $5,000, then back down to 1,000. You're like, fuck, what's this going to be? You got to pay taxes on it all, but I mean, it's nice getting a big one.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of people that do commercial work deal with too. Like I did some commercial work when I was younger, and then they don't air it anymore, and then all of a sudden you get a check, and you're like, oh, are they re-airing it? And it was like one station re-aired it.
Yeah, see that the money is better in music and stand up, like streaming your stuff, than like when you act and they rerun something that you were in a commercial like years later. I've been in like a few little things, and the check's $1. I mean, this is like a steady between, $1,500 and $4,000 a month that just comes in for nothing. So like I tell comedians, if you're not putting albums out there, you're being a moron. Like I have like 8 albums, and you got to stop. Some of these guys are like, where you said, am I one of those guys that only wants to transcribe his own stuff because he doesn't want anyone else doing it? Like you meet comedians like that. They're like, dude, I got to get the hour just right. I'm like, no, you don't. You want it to make money.
It's live.
It's like sometimes as an artist, I don't know if this works that way as a singer songwriter, and I hate when it works this way. And we talked about it before, when we were doing the test of your show, where it's like, you gotta sometimes look where the money is and then create something for the money. Like sometimes that happens where you got to go backwards instead of going, well, I'm gonna write a show and try to sell it. Sometimes it's reverse, and people don't maybe do that enough, because sometimes when you go in and pitch these shows after I used to do that when I was a younger comic. You don't see anybody doing that anymore, like spending money to make like a demo of a sitcom idea you had or something, and then going to LA and having all these meetings, and then no one buys it. And you go in these meetings and they'll say, well, we're not looking for that demographic here, or that age, like, so you would have been smarter if you kind of knew in your head before you made it, where is this sellable? I bet people in business do that all the time. They figure out, is this worth even going for?
Right. So like once you've made, if it doesn't get sold that time around, you still have like this project that you made, and then later you could potentially find a buyer and like repitch it if things shift. Right?
Yeah, you can. But like if you write something that is so niche, what's the word they use? Niche.
Yeah.
It's so niche that it doesn't fit anywhere. You see it with music. Like I've had friends that have had record deals, and I'm like, dude, I can't even categorize what your band's music style is. Like that's not good if we can't categorize it.
Right. It's like it's almost like the truer the artistic expression, like the more difficult it becomes to mass market it.
It can be, unless it's some new thing that becomes really hot.
And then everyone will start trying to copy that, and they'll end up.
Well, that's why I tell everybody I'm a pop writer, because pop is so broad. It's whatever's popular. So it could have, R&B feel or a hip hop feel or a country feel.
Right.
You're not as limited. I mean,
Right.
once you have a brand, you got to stick to that. But
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's easy. It's easy to be like really weird and out there when you're young, but then when you start getting older and you got bills and you got stuff, you got to start kind of thinking like a business person. And like, I feel like somebody that I think like that in the last few years a lot more. So like, when I do get something, it's for a pretty good amount, and there'll be a lot of nothing. I used to think I had to be doing stuff all the time, and like now I'm enjoying doing nothing. And when I do something, it's for a good amount, and it covers me for all that time where I was doing nothing. Like there's probably many guys out there that like they're doing nothing, then they write a book that becomes something, and then they go back to nothing again. You're not complete. It looks like you're doing nothing. You're not, but you know, uh, if that makes sense.
yeah, no, I also
I don't know.
think doing it too much is not good either. I mean, I know, comics get on stage way more nights a week than a musician does, but some of them do it a little too often
I
where
was
it's like
about
you
to say
lose
that.
the excitement and the real high that you get from it.
I know a New York comic that I won't say his name. I never say names on podcasts, even though it makes it more interesting when you throw their name in, right? But I don't know. I don't know if you heard about this comic that like I think he went 8 or 9 years without missing a night, right? And he was someone that used to ask me for advice early on. And he's one of those. Do you ever meet these people? They ask you for advice, and you give them advice, and you think you gave them good advice, and it's like they don't even come close to applying it. I'm like, why did you ask if you won't do anything that I just suggested? So I said to him, I'm like, dude, you shouldn't do comedy every day of the week for 9 straight years. Like, you need to live a life so you have something to talk about on stage. You can't have no life because you're doing stand up all the time. And I'm like, dude, he turned into one of those guys like the robots that make money, that they become proficient, but they're not, no one's ever going to look at them as like some sort of artistic guy. And I guess they make a choice. They're like, you know what? I'll be a warm-up comedian. I'll make money. And who gives a shit? I don't care if I'm an artist. And it's like, well, then why'd you ask a question then? Like, if you wanted advice, you really didn't.
Joe, I'm sorry. In the middle of your interview, we had technical difficulties. My internet went out, so
Oh no.
we just had to restart the live stream, so it's still here. But I didn't get to hear half of what you said.
But was I live or wasn't I?
Yeah, you were live. We had a break, and then we started it back up. So there's about a 2-minute window that we missed, but there are two different things. So I'm sorry about that.
You're definitely alive.
I
had no point to do.
I've been doing this so long. It's
yeah, that's what happened. I don't know what happened, but that's part of doing stuff live. But did you talk about your mentor? We have to go and we move to our next guest. But did you talk about your mentorship program yet?
I did not.
Okay, talk about that, and then we got to get to Mallory. But talk about your mentorship program up with the number.
Well, I like the way it's always funny whenever you do talk shows. You guys are comics too. It's like there's always like a hair of a miscommunication, and then you have to re-explain. You're like, no, it's not an internship. An internship sounds like I'm giving it out for free. Hey guys, I'm going to teach you how to do comedy, and I don't need anything. Let's just do this. It's more of a mentorship, is what I call it. A mentorship / coaching is what I kind of call it. And I'm not looking to do it with like hundreds of comedians. And one of the reasons I came up with this was I taught comedy for like a year and a half. And I don't know, singer-songwriter Jeff, did you ever teach?
No, not a
music
teacher.
or anything? Okay. So
I can't figure out how other people think.
Oh, really?
And learn. Yeah. Or learn rather.
Learn.
Yeah.
Well, if you've ever taught, what was hard about teaching stand-up versus doing what I'm doing now is you'd have about 15 people in your class, and there'd be about one that was like, oh, this guy's got something. This guy's unique. This guy's fun to teach. I'm enjoying this. And then you'd have about 13 or 14 complete out of their mind lunatics. Like that's how it was when you would teach comedy. There was people that were so fucking weird, and they're contacting you and all the time and blah 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 blah. So I never loved the classroom aspect, but when I would connect with one guy and like see them go on to big things, like I had that happen a few times, and it's like, oh, this is fun. I like this. This is kind of like what athletes have, which is like no matter how good they are, they always have somebody that's kind of directing it, you know. And it's nice to have another set of eyes. And what I tell people, not only what you gain from me mentoring you, is I'll put you to work. I'm like, if I get gigs or I can include you, you'll make your money back. And I don't charge like a crazy amount because I know comedians struggle. So I have 2 guys that I'm working with right now. The hardest part is there's nowhere for them to perform for me to critique it. So like, I'm thinking at this point, I'm going to have to stream them live like you guys are doing and let people write in as we're doing it. And then that'll be a 5-minute or 10-minute set for them that I can critique the next day when we have a session together.
If you do, we'll let people know. If you do,
yeah, we'll share it on our social medias. We got the number here on the screen if you're watching live, and we'll share it in our comments later on. And Joe, it's been great having you.
Yeah, and there's the number. If anybody is interested in that, just text me for more info. Just text me. Don't call that number. Just text it, and I'll get back to you within the day. And dude, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
I wish we got to talk about, I was talking before you came on about how I followed you at Stand Up New York and how the look in the crowd's eyes that night was different than other nights I've been on, because when I was a newer comic. So yeah, just appreciate all you do and can't wait to see you hopefully in person soon. And we'll all the best, man.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to just elbow bump somewhere when we see each other.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah, you too.
All right, guys. See you, man. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
See you.